Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. All right, guys, today's Get Ready With Me day. It is really early here, but they've predicted we're getting over a foot of snow tonight. So this might be my last chance to film all week and to show you guys the new stuff. So we're gonna do a Get Ready With Me. I'm gonna show you guys all the new products that were released at the artist's birthday. And we're gonna do a 3D Demi hybrid look because I know so many of you guys got those Demi edits since you sold them out. So if you wanna check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Good morning, friends. I usually don't film this early, so you're gonna have to bear with me. If my brain's not working yet, I'm still drinking my coffee in my new Christmas present. This might be the bougiest mug on the face of the earth, but I asked for it for 2 years and I finally got one. Amber, and it keeps your coffee at the same temperature. Game changer for any mom who always drinks cold coffee. So let's do a quick look. I'm gonna try not to talk too long. For one, because my brain's not working yet. In case you didn't know, I am not a morning person. We got home, see, my brain already doesn't work, after 10 from my daughter's basketball game. And everyone's prepping for this big snowstorm, and I have an appointment, and so this is really early. I've got to put my face on fast so I can get out of the house. So let's do, even though 3D and Demi is probably not the fastest method, I will be honest, it can still be done, and the more you practice, the faster you get, I promise. But I wanted to show you guys some of this goodness, even though this is no longer available, but it was only the day of the party, but I had to show you guys. I felt the red was appropriate for all the lip and cheek colors, right? Is that not pretty? I had to finally get rid of my one that said mascara on it because I still had that. All right. I started off by prepping my perfector. You guys, I know this might sound weird, but I was probably more excited about this than any of the other new releases. So this was a free gift with purchase. Is this not the cutest bag? Okay, it is available now online. You can purchase it, but it's got a little clip. It's ventilated. And you guys, since I've been an artist, 5 years, I'm like, why do we not have, maybe not from the very beginning. Ever since we turned into Seint and our color became like black, I'm like, why don't we have a black perfector? This sucker is always looking filthy. I am so excited. I just want to stock up just in case they are limited edition or something. They haven't told us. But the travel perfector, it's still full size. You can tell, like this one, I've already gotten wet. It's full size. I was afraid it was going to be smaller, but the case is awesome. It's so cute. Anyway, I'm very excited about my perfector. So it's ventilated because obviously when you travel with these bad boys, you don't want to close them up in anything. Mildew, bacterial grow, all the things. You want to let them air dry. So this bag is going to be super handy, and I feel like I could easily just clip it to my makeup bag, my makeup case. So I'm so excited. It's the little things. Okay, so I'm gonna let that kind of air out while I start my face. I finally got Tiger Lily, and I'm already getting comments that it doesn't look like the pictures they shared. You guys, this is always why I wish I could get everything early. I do my best from what they give us, but it's very difficult to get really accurate photos, I feel like, and everyone kind of sees them differently. I honestly feel like I saw 2 different tones of Tiger Lily swatched around before it was released, and it's actually a lot lighter than I expected from the initial pictures that were released. So I'm going to do comparison swatches. I have it right here next to Venice, which is what they said it was a matte version of. And you can tell, yes, there's a variance. So we're going to swatch it and the other shades of the season. So this one is not one, obviously. Venice was just the comparison I was comparing it to because I did not have Tiger Lily. I just got it. So we're going to use Tiger Lily. I'm going to show you guys these. And I might have to use some Love Spell because it is one of my all-time favorite shades we've ever had. And now that it's back until the end of March, I can wear it on repeat again. Like, I have to wear them while I can, while they're available. So we've got Tiger Lily, Love Spell, Bear, and Audrey. And so those are the 4 shades of the season. If you didn't hear, they switched up shade of the month, and now there's going to be multiple shades. It could vary depending on the season. Of like anything from old limited edition shades, old favorites, new shades like Tiger Lily they brought back. So last year, Audrey was a brand new shade. Love Spell was a favorite that they brought back. Bear was not released last year, and it was a previous limited edition shade. So then that one came back. So there you go. The first shades of the season for 2023, and they are available until March 29th, I believe is what they said. And so just for the season, but longer than a month. So now you guys can snag it. You have more time. We'll go over those. The Demi edits, you guys, were crazy hot sellers. They were 30% off the day of the sale. They are, when they get restocked, they're going to be 15% off, which is still a really good deal because they come with 6 shades, and the combos, if you saw my IG, are perfection. Like, it's literally what I've been recommending for years since it's been out, the combinations that they put together. So I'm going to show you how I would use the Wide Awake edit for my full face. It is the most universal in my opinion. But they're not restocked. If you want me to let you know when they'll be restocked, just shoot me an email. I can get you on kind of like the waiting list, and so that way I can email you when they're back if you're wanting one of those edits. Okay, and then the other gift with purchase was Seint number 6. I will have to look up the description. I say it time and time again. I suck at scents, guys. Color, I can describe blind, but I cannot describe a scent to save my life. This one is definitely, I know it's supposed to be vanilla-y, and some words I can't remember. It's definitely floral-y to me. I smell gardenia, and I don't even think that's one of the descriptive floral notes it's supposed to be. Granted, like I said, I don't know all those. I don't know floral. I don't know them all. Okay, so it smells really good. I will be honest, I wore this to church the day I got it, like late Saturday night, and I wore it to church the next day, and I could smell it. Like, I was like, man, I keep getting whiffs as I moved around, like, because I put it on my wrists and here, and I used it as an illuminator, and I was smelling it, which I always like because I feel like a lot of times other perfumes I put on and then I'm like, throughout the day, I can't smell it. Like, I might be able to smell it the first 30 minutes and then I can't smell it. But I feel like something about putting these in certain points, I don't know, as you move, you can smell it. I got the whiff and I was like, ooh, that does smell good. So I liked it on myself. Obviously, it will smell differently on everybody, but I do like the 6 so far. Okay, let's go ahead and start with face. I'm gonna go ahead, I literally have a backup of my Thank Me Later because I could not get very much out of this the other day, and then now all of a sudden it's coming out fine. I swear, I think I've only like bought 2 replacements of that ever because this lasts me so long, but you know, backups don't hurt. Good old Amazon. I'll link it down below if you're looking for a good eyeshadow primer to try that is not overpriced. My cat is jumping on the counter. What are you doing, champ? Smelling the coffee pot. Don't burn yourself. Okay, so primed. This is day 7 of wearing, and I haven't posted this video yet, so you guys might see it after. This video might go up before, but I did do a first impressions of Lilac Street after you guys were telling me, have you tried it, after I did my last video. I really like them. And this is day 7. And I feel like I could go a lot longer. So I'm going to kind of fuse them real quick. Even though I have felt like with these lashes, I have not had to fuse much at all. Like they haven't really budged. So I will share that first impressions video soon once it's edited. All right, so we're gonna do a 3D Demi hybrid, meaning we're gonna use 3D for a majority of coverage. I'm always honest with you guys. I do not get the evenness of my skin tone from Demi alone, but I love it with 3D. I don't feel like it's the best for large areas of redness because I would have to go in, where's my little brush? So for redness, what we think of as redness, which I do have rosacea, I would have to go into every of these darker points, which I'll be honest, a lot of them are hyperpigmentation, not necessarily redness. But in order to kind of get rid of this look of this redness right here, I'd have to hit the darkest points with 03 and then go in with the areas that are technically excess purple, not red, and hit those with Y01. To me, that is a little too time consuming for when I want a really like natural finish, when I can just take my mango and do this. It's a personal preference, obviously, but I can't see that at all. And it covers like immediately, quickly, really fast. Now, on areas of texture, like around my eyes or this, that sometimes doesn't fully cover with 3D and sometimes gives me texture issues because sometimes dark spots can be a different texture. That is a different story. Blemishes, whole nother story. Blemishes, I don't have any right now, but blemishes are amazing because again, they can give texture with any makeup, but Demi won't give that added texture and they virtually disappear when it comes to blemishes. So I'm going to show you the method I like to use that isn't as time consuming as doing Demi only and works really well for me because I have a full face of hyperpigmentation. It's not like I just have a few spots I need to like spot filter. I have a full face. And so for me to get that kind of even look to my skin, I can knock out redness far better on large areas with 3D. And so that's usually what I recommend. If you have large areas of hyperpigmentation and large areas of redness, know that Demi is a pinpoint precise application. And so you've got to kind of weigh the pros and cons for you and when you're making that decision on what points of your face you're going to use Demi for and what you're going to use 3D for. And I usually say, try this method first. Try just using 3D kind of all over. Keep it light-handed. Skip large areas like under your eyes. You can try Demi there where if you're mature like me, we have texture issues. And that way you can learn it and get to know your edit because this concept is not second nature and will take time to learn, more so than even 3D. Okay, so learning curves all around, but it's so worth it because you can't get this look with other traditional makeup. Okay, we're gonna do real light hand and we're gonna do a really natural look today. Okay, I need my coffee. But then of course we're gonna use the new lip and cheeks. Okay, so only thing I have on my face is my sunscreen and skincare, all silicone free. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit the darkest points of my face first with my color corrector and the blend brush. Now I like this brush for this method because it actually picks up the least amount of product. Now, this end, I can't really buff on. It's too flimsy of a brush. But I love this small end for hitting, like my nose has so many different colors in it because I have all these spots of hyperpigmentation, yet my entire nose is darker. So it can be really hard for me to kind of get that to match the rest of my face with Demi alone. And it can be really time consuming, but I can simply buff on a thin layer of mango and get my full nose covered really quickly because that's not an area of texture for me. So any redness, again, real thin layer, can't even see it. And I'm going to hit large areas of hyperpigmentation. And I'm using this small end because it's dense and I can buff it, okay? And with this method, I'm trying to get the lightest hand. If you're ever trying to get the product to really go thinly over a large surface area, you've got to do the buffing motion, small circles. So I'm kind of using this to have a little bit more pinpoint application. So I'm not necessarily putting it everywhere, but you'll see I cover a large portion of my face with mango because it's better to match my darkest points than to think I can get light coverage by not using a color corrector and just using my mane. That in fact will give me less coverage because I will need more of my mane to give coverage, use more of my mane to get coverage because it's too light and it doesn't color correct, and it'll end up that I will have a heavier hand and have worse longevity. So just because I'm using more than one color does not mean I can't get a very natural finish. It's all in application and amounts you apply. So I'm just gonna hit any hyperpigmentation points and areas of texture. Like this area is not darker, but guess what? I have texture issues there. So I'm gonna make sure I hit that with my darkest shade. Okay, by now my eye primer has dried down, and so I can go ahead and color correct my eyelids. Demi doesn't work real well for my eyelids because they are, I mean, I got a lot of veins. It doesn't even it out as easily. Once again, large area. If you just have one vein going through your eye or something that you want to take care of, it's a great option, but my entire eye is purple. So real quickly, I can even them out, easy peasy. Now, I kind of learned with my own face because again, Demi is something that is very much trial and error, and you have to learn your face by trying different things. And I've learned that this area here is extremely hard for me to completely cover because again, it's a large surface area and I have a lot of spots within there. So again, I'm just gonna go and even out this area with a little bit of 3D. I am going to leave everything from kind of like where my eye has bags up empty. Okay, so that's going to be where I'm going to use Demi, but right here we're like, it's kind of like that eye socket. Typically everyone gets a hyperpigmentation pool. Maybe not everyone. If you're prone to hyperpigmentation, you probably notice you've got a lot more hyperpigmentation in this area, and it has to do with your circulatory system underneath your face. Hyperpigmentation tends to pool there because of the blood flow. So I'm just going to kind of hit that right up to that point. Okay, so this is not an area of texture, but everything up here is. I'm avoiding all of that with 3D, and I am just kind of using this so I could take less time with Demi because I'm not having to correct this part, which is very hard for me to fully correct because I just have, like, I don't think you guys understand until you've tried Demi how many different colors can be under our eye, because I've got spots that are creating depth. I've got blue and purple tones from my veins. I've got lighter points because my under eyes aren't as dark as the rest of my face. And so it can be a lot when you're learning. And so make it easier on yourself if you have to. Use 3D in some places and then practice with just using Demi. You can slowly use less 3D and more Demi as you get used to it. So this spot, you'll notice I kind of just buffed over it, but I did not press on more coverage there like I normally do. And that's because I am going to try to use Demi there. I never recommend the opposite. I don't recommend putting Demi down and then trying to go in with your 3D. If you haven't tried Demi, these creams are very different texture. They are very dry. They're more like a wax, and you don't use a tenth of what you would use with 3D. Like, you use so little. I always try to tell people when you're picking it up on the brush, like, can you see how little that is? That's how much I pick up at a time. You use so very little on the brush that if you see it going onto your face, you've applied too much product and you're gonna have to flip over and remove some. It is so very little. It's hard to explain. So even though you're applying very little product, you put this down with that thicker texture and then you try to put 3D over it, you're gonna see the texture of Demi, and then it completely eliminates the magic of Demi and the fact that this gives no texture. It doesn't increase the look of texture. Not to mention, this is a precise application. I put 3D over it, you're gonna move that product. I mean, you're placing it exactly at the pinpoint, like the size of a sesame seed, you're putting each color. This, I use multiple colors to correct. That is multiple colors because it's a larger spot. If I try to put 3D over that, I'm gonna see texture, I'm gonna move the product, I'm gonna lose coverage. It's just, it takes away all of the magic. I don't know how else to describe it. If you really wanna get the full benefits of Demi, make sure you're putting 3D down first and keep it light-handed. And then anywhere you know you're gonna use Demi, just either skip that point or keep it as light as possible with something like the blend. Okay, does that make sense? All right. I'm gonna go ahead and, I got a few more little spots. I'm just gonna make sure I've at least hit, because I did not put this on my full face. I hit this hyperpigmentation rosacea area here. I pressed it on a few points that are a little bit darker, that I've got bigger spots of hyperpigmentation. I hit the redness here, my entire nose, and then some redness here and some hyperpigmentation here. I think I've got majority hyperpigmentation here, leaving this area open, real light hand there. Okay, now we can move on to the main shade, okay? I don't feel like I use very much, so I'm not pulling super dark, but this is kind of how I even it out, because technically I didn't apply anything in some of these areas. I like a little bit more evenness to my skin. And then once I go in with this, it will pull off excess to where I will have a very skin-like finish. But when I want skin-like, I'm gonna go in with the blend brush. And so I'm just going to tap into my mane very lightly, okay? This picks up so very little product, it's not even funny. So I'm going to just tap that. And then I'm gonna tap back in. And then again, I'm gonna tap on these areas to kind of, again, tone down some of this warmth, build up a little bit of coverage, but kind of just even out all of my tones, because I do have a lot of hyperpigmentation, a lot of depth in my face, a lot of different colors. Okay, and this also will help. So when I do apply my contour, it's not gonna get pulled as warm, since I've color corrected and used my mane, and it also gives me a much better blend. Every time I contour first, I think it's because my hyperpigmentation is showing through the contour, doesn't give me enough coverage. It makes it look patchy. So if you're having issues with that, use your highlight first. All right, so now I'm gonna flip over to the small end, and I'm just gonna press on a little bit of that main shade on my nose. Because it was so dark, I really wanna make sure it's matching the rest of my face. And so this doesn't tend to fit very well in all these little nooks and crannies. I like to give a little bit more coverage. And then I'm gonna hit my eyes. Okay, and you can assess and see if you need a little bit more coverage anywhere. Or you cannot, and just be like, okay, that's a place I'm gonna use a little Demi on to filter it a little bit more. So after my color corrector in main, then I like to contour, okay? I am gonna pick up the detail. I hate this brush for contouring. Sorry, not sorry. Makes it so difficult. But this brush makes it easy. I'm gonna just try to do a light hand of contour. We'll see. Every time I have intentions of being light-handed, never turns out that way. So I'm just tapping and then slowly tapping upwards to blend. See, I always get a dramatic contour. It doesn't matter what I do. Oh, wow. I do like to contour before Demi, just to make sure all those points within it, nothing's sticking out after that need a little extra filtering. This will increase coverage, so you might, if you try to use Demi on those points and then try to contour over it, you're definitely gonna move the product. So I like to think of Demi as like a finishing touch. Okay. Under jaw. Also, once you've fully applied your 3D like this, you'll notice that this gives you so much coverage, even really light-handed, and even the contour, you'll find you have to use much less Demi. If you try to do Demi first, sometimes you can be like trying to filter everything to where there's like no stopping point. That's why we've always said pick 3 distractions and start there, because if you try to do more than that, it will be overwhelming and very time consuming, okay, which we don't want. All right, so I'm not even gonna contour my nose because I'm not gonna brighten. Brightener has a lot to do with the way our nose contour looks, but with Demi, I don't use any brightener. Now, you can, if you are one of those people who has a lighter neck and you need that brightener along your jawline, you can still press it right there. If you, say you have used Demi under your eyes before and it just doesn't give you the pop you want, just do like I did, apply a 3D up to a certain point and then brighten this as your triangle, okay? Not all the way up to the eye, not over where you applied Demi, but just here next to your nose, and this will still give you that brightness and that pop without having to go up there and add unnecessary texture. All right, so now we're ready to perfect, okay? So this is gonna kind of make it look a little bit more like skin. Now, I don't feel like this looks heavy at all, but I always use the perfector, especially if you're wanting a really skin-like finish or you tend to be a little heavy-handed. Oh my gosh, I love the feeling of a new perfector. It's like a cloud on my face. So I'm just gonna kind of tap it. I don't feel like I need much. Okay, so this will kind of even out that area in between the 3D and where we're gonna be applying Demi as well. Okay, there you go. Since I normally mainly concentrate this under my eyes, I don't feel like I need it much since I have nothing there yet. Okay. But I am going to go ahead and set my eyelids since I did even those out. Eyelash. Because otherwise, by the time I'm done talking, my eyelids will be completely creased. So sometimes I just hit a couple of points while I have it out. I usually assess if I need bronzer. I don't really feel like I need it today. Bronzer is not something you guys have to use every single day. If you want to add warmth to your skin, that is the point of bronzer. Now, I'm a self-tanner. My neck is not looking lighter. I feel like I still got a lot of warmth in my face, so I'm going to skip it. If you feel like you look washed out, hit the high points, okay? You want to do that before you go into Demi. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is apply lip and cheek, because again, I like to do that before Demi. We got some swatches to do, some comparisons. Okay, so let me put this aside. We will finish our face with Demi in a second. Okay, let's go with the lightest to darkest with the shades of the month. Okay, Audrey, if you guys don't remember, is a very pale, matte, cool pink. Okay, so I'm gonna try to do a little bit of comparisons while we're here. I always thought this was closest to maybe Petal, but Petal is a gloss. Okay, so here's Petal. Petal is cooler, okay? Doesn't have as much warmth to it, but they're about the same depth. Audrey is just matte, okay? All right, next is Bear. So Bear used to be, actually it used to be a permanent shade. Then they made it limited edition and made some of the limited edition shades permanent. See, you never know what's gonna happen in Seint World. Okay, so this is Bear. Okay, Bear is a matte. It is very nude, very neutral. It has very little pink in it. And I always say that because Ballerina, in comparison, has more pink in it and is lighter. But people have been asking me to swatch it next to Nude. So Nude is also matte. Nude is much darker and much warmer than Bear. Okay, so Bear's a little bit, I'd say, closer to Ballerina level depth. It's just a really beautiful nude. Now on me, I can wear it on my cheeks, but it is pretty light for me. So depending if you're lighter than me, you can definitely wear it because I can see it. It is just like the most neutral color I could wear. I can't wear it on my lips, but I can't wear Ballerina on my lips alone. It will wash me out. I got to go a little bit darker. Even Nude kind of washes me out due to the undertone. Again, lip and cheeks are all personal preference, and you can mix it. If it doesn't look perfect, then how do we adjust? You add something warmer, add something cooler, depending on what it is. So I'll show you that in a little bit. Okay, Love Spell. Love Spell is, it is actually created, let me show you, by mixing Desert Sunset, which is this shade right here, okay, which Desert Sunset is a very nude, light gloss, little pinky, but it was made by an artist originally by mixing Desert Sunset and Gilded eyeshadow, which is one of my favorites. Can you see it now? Gilded, okay? So you can make your own if you have those already. But it is, I mean, I think I found like 4 in my palettes and I just bought another 3. For myself, okay? It is one of my all-time favorites, and obviously it won't come back until next year. I think last year it came back in February as the shade of the month for the love theme. It is so good. If you like a shimmer and you like a gloss, you will love it because it can be worn and built up. It almost has that bronzy undertone, but it's got warmth from the gilded. But see how much it can be like sheared out? And I wear it pretty sheer on my cheeks, a little bit darker on my lips, but it's one of my favorite shades to mix with my lips. If I want to add a little bit of depth and a little bit of shimmer, I will always reach for this. It is so good. Like, I want to just wear this, but I got to show you guys the new color. Oh my gosh, love smells so good. Now, comparison wise, the only thing we even have remotely close would be Royal, which is a permanent shade, but you can see how much warmer Royal is. So Royal is like a wine undertone red. The formulation is very similar in the fact that you can like build it up or sheer it out, okay? When Love Spell became a limited edition, I then had to wear Royal all the time. But this one is much more bronzy. I get people asking for a bronzy lip and cheek all the time. Definitely loves it. And it looks good layered over any of these. If you need to darken a shade, warm up a shade, add some shimmer. If you like shimmer on everything like I do, you would love it. Okay, so next is the new shade. This is Tiger Lily. I've been getting comments that it's fluorescent orange. It really does not look that orange to me, but then when I swatch it next to Venice, I can see why people think that. So it is a matte, it is bright, but it is pigmented, meaning you don't have to wear it this heavy. I have been wearing it and I love the tone. The tone is beautiful. It just doesn't take much on me because I don't like a super bright blush. So I don't feel like it looks super orange when swatched, but then you compare it to Venice and you can tell where it does pull more orange than Venice. So Venice is the one they said it was like. I mean, I guess it's in the same general family. It is a bright coral. They both are. This one is glossy. This one's matte. Tiger Lily is definitely more in the, I mean, I feel like in the pan they look even closer than they do when swatched. But Venice has more pink in it for sure. Now, if you guys remember, we've had a lot of limited edition shades over the years. And we had, which I believe, is it still? I don't know if it's available or not. What is this? Tangerine. Now this was one of the, oh my gosh, what did they call them? It's one of the scented ones that we had, all the fruity ones. This one, I would say, is much more orange, okay? And this one is much more of a sheer gloss, but look at the comparison. This does not look fluorescent orange when you compare it to Tangerine. See, then it looks much more pink. So it's all relative depending on what you're comparing it to, how heavily you're swatching, how heavily you're applying it. And it does not have to be that heavy. It reminds me of Dahlia, which scares a lot of people, just in a less pink version. It's more coral, okay? This is Dahlia. This is, I mean, you put it next to Dahlia and it looks straight coral. It's just more of a brighter coral. So this is Dahlia, okay? It's just a hot pink, but you can tell, yes, this one looks more coral, this one looks more pink. But when I wear Dahlia, I do not wear it at this opacity. I just apply less. And they're so pigmented, you don't need much at all. So I'm gonna show you guys. I'm just gonna tap, tap, tap. Okay, if you think you pick up too much, swirl on your hand. I mean, I just swirled on my hand and I can't even see it. Okay, so you might think, like if you really wanna pounce in and then swirl, test it on your hand. See what kind of pigmentation it's giving you. Does that look too dark or too bright? I really pounced in. It's a beautiful tone. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit right along that. Remember, if you are pressing it on and not just taking your finger and dabbing it on and then trying to blend it out, you can control the color. You can control the depth. You can control how bright or how dark or how pigmented it is on your face. You have less control if you're gonna do this and go in with it. Now, once you know a color and you're like, okay, this one's more pigmented, I can do that, or I know how much to apply, that's a different story. But when you're trying a color for the very first time, start with less. I think it's beautiful. Like, I love it. And I will be wearing this a lot this summer. To be honest, I don't really consider it a shade of the season right now. I think it would have been more appropriate in the summer. But here's hoping they bring back those scented ones because those were awesome. Okay, so there you go. There it is. I feel like I'm not real even. Okay, so there is Tiger Lily. It's super pretty, especially if you just like a little pop of brightness. Again, doesn't have to be applied this heavy. So there's the shades of the season and some comparison swatches. I am gonna apply some to my lips and I'm going to show you how I can still wear it because I don't want a super bright lip with this really natural look. I've not tried it with the lip liner yet. So let's try it with Suede. My lips are already, I've talked so much, my lips are already dry. I'm gonna grab some of the Demi Balm, which is my fave. And then I'm gonna go in with Suede. So Suede is a really universal lip liner. It's a little warm, and if you like or you want to cool down a shade, you can always just use your contour. I use Astoria a lot, but this one is a little bit more natural. Okay, so I'm just going to tap to get some on my finger, and then I'm going to tap onto that balm, and it's going to pick up that pigment. And this is how I test new shades when they're super pigmented. Okay. Super pretty. And then you can build. Tap, tap, tap. Okay. If you just go in like willy-nilly and apply it on, it's probably going to be, you're going to feel like it's too bright. And I feel like this time of the year, we aren't looking for that major punch on the lips. Okay, so there it is by itself. I'm gonna take, again, one tap of Love Spell. Another one. And I'm gonna just build up till it's a color I like. There's a little bit of shimmer. Now, Love Spell and Tiger Lily are both warm. If you don't want warm, then you're gonna need to add something cooler. Like I have been playing with other shades, and Love Spell and Summer Love is one of my favorite combinations. Like if you want to add a little Summer Love, it's gonna just cool it down. It's a little bit neutral. Oh, it looks so good with Love Spell. I like that combo. It's pretty. Okay, we're just gonna stop there and let's do a little Demi under the eyes since I'm talking too much as usual. Okay, I got my Demi. This side is just my Wide Awake edit, which is technically designed for under the eyes. I will use it everywhere. Okay, now I don't have any blemishes, but even when I have blemishes, guys, I am using these shades. I rarely have a fire engine stoplight red point on my face that needs green. And I feel like everyone thinks they need green if they have a breakout. You might sometimes. I actually rarely ever use G1. So usually it's purple. And so that's one of the misconceptions of color wheel. We think this is redness on our face. It's usually excess purple, unless you see stoplight red on your face, which is actually more rare than you think. Okay, so unless you have a really inflamed blemish, you might need a touch of that green. Otherwise, this is why I like the Wide Awake edit the best. Now, as far as brushes, because everyone always asks, Spot Brush is absolutely a must-have. If you don't have it, you can use the small end of the multitasker, but this one is far easier to use in my opinion. And then the bright brush, if you're doing under your eyes, can be helpful as well. Those are usually the only two brushes I use in Demi World. Spot, I could do for my full face. Sorry, these black brushes were an artist only thing I earned, but the normal brushes are pretty in silver, okay? So these are just clean, sorry. Those need to be washed. So that and the brush cleaning tile, I would say, are your best friends. Use a different one for Demi than eyeshadow, or you're gonna be getting it looking muddy. And let's go. Okay, if you don't know, Demi has to do with the color wheel. You're looking for excess color in your skin, and then you are going opposite of the color wheel, okay? So the main colors you're gonna use are oranges. So let's see, we got 03 and 01. 03 is for the darkest points on your face, okay? This is the darkest point on my face, and I have some up here. Any of these really dark points of hyperpigmentation, I need 03 on, okay? So dark pigment means you have excess blue in your skin. So if you go opposite of blue, that is orange. The darker the orange, the darker the point of your face. So I always just say, start with 03. I don't think I have any clients that don't use 03. 03 is like magic mango of Demi World, in my opinion. Everyone needs it. So if you go with 03 and hit the darkest points you see first, then you're gonna hit the next darkest with 01, okay? Now, the lighter your skin tone is, you might use more 01 than 03. It just kind of depends on the depth of your face. Now, since I have a full face of hyperpigmentation, I have every different color imaginable. And it's just a determination for me is what is distracting. What do I actually need to filter? Because I can't hit every point. It would take all day. Obviously, this one is a distraction. Under the eyes is a distraction. And then some of these I kind of hit too. So I'm gonna hit the darkest points with 03. Then I'm gonna go into the next darkest points with 01. Now, I already said most of those things that we tend to think are redness are actually usually excess purple. So broken capillaries, which I feel like you can't see because my 3D definitely covered, you can use on these areas. I tend to use my 3D because it covers and it's quicker. Again, it depends on if you're wanting to just run out the door and not apply 3D at all. Say you just want to filter a few things. Maybe you have a blemish and you don't like your broken capillaries. Just hit those points with Demi and run out the door. When it gets time consuming is when you're trying to get a full face of what looks like makeup and with Demi, because this is really undetectable and you're not gonna really see it. And so it gives you the no makeup look. It doesn't look like you're wearing anything at all. You're gonna see mostly just skin because you're not covering your full face. All right, so after we've hit the darkest points, I go in with the darkest points of maybe purple, okay? After 03, 01, I go in Y01 is the one I use the most. And so you'll see in here, I've got a lot of purple around my eyes, and that usually knocks it out. Now, Y01 means yellow orange, which means it is something a little bit more yellow because it has more purple in it, meaning it's got more redness. Red and blue make purple, right? Blue is giving that depth of the area. The red is making it turn purple. And so that's why we need a yellow orange in order to counteract it. And you kind of just learn these 6 main colors. Then you have to try it and actually attempt to filter those areas with those colors. If it shows texture, you're using the wrong color. If it doesn't disappear, and usually it tends to look cool in color. So if I was to put, say, R01 on this, because a lot of people are saying hyperpigmentation is green, which it can be, but at a certain point it goes from green to blue because it's too dark. And so if I was to put this on this spot, which is what I originally did when we first tried Demi, it actually looks cool in color and it looks chalky, icy. That is telling you your color is too light. You need to go, it means it has more blue in it usually because you need to go darker, meaning you need to go with something with more orange. Okay, so these pinks down here are R1 and R01. So this is just red and this is red orange, meaning it is darker because it's got more blue in it. So you'll hear all the time hyperpigmentation is green. I'm a great example that not all hyperpigmentation is green because so this spot right here, it looks mulchy. I can't use R1 there. I would probably have to go in to maybe these, I don't even know, this like really light freckle right here might need R1, which is just straight red. Okay, red is opposite green. Okay, so this might be a little green there, but truly most of my face, those light freckles, I'm not filtering. Like I have too many of them. Why would I hit every one of those points? But the ones creating depth and darkness and giving me a darker under eye, those I could hit. Now, notice how much darker that one is than this one. Okay, that's because it's got more blue in it, meaning I need more orange in it. And so those I tend to go to the red, orange, or orange red in order to get them to filter. And sometimes I'll try it. I'm like, it's not disappearing. It's darker today. You guys, your skin will change on the daily. This is why it's so important to have an edit to where you have at least 4 to 6 shades. So many times people are like, I just want to try one demi shade. One demi shade doesn't do anything, to be honest. It might do a little bit, but this one spot, I can't cover with one shade. If you are applying Demi to an area larger than a sesame seed, you're not going to get it to disappear because any point larger than a sesame seed on your face is always more than one color. And until you try Demi, you don't realize how many different colors you have in your face. So you need to start, this is why I say starting with the hybrid method is a lot easier because you're not so overwhelmed with your full face, thinking everything is a distraction when it's not. So just leave your under eyes open, maybe a point, and then hit those to practice. All right, so we've gone through orange, yellows, okay, pure yellow, you don't need as much unless you have really pale purple, which I do have a little bit under my eye because again, it is yellow with no depth to it. Okay, so it has no orange, it's just straight yellow. Okay, don't go in straight with this right under the eye and try to brighten it's not going to look good. It's going to look chalky. And not many people need that much yellow under the eyes. Usually you need oranges. Most people have excess blue and green in their skin and somewhat we think is redness, blemishes, where they need yellow, usually Y01 or OY1, depending on your color. I would say if you get this one, most likely you will be able to use all of these. I find the difference between like R01 and OR1 and Y01 and OY1 negligible. Okay, so don't get too tripped up on getting the exact shade and thinking your shade won't work. I promise it will do the job. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you first 03. Let's hit the darkest points with the spot brush. Okay, again, when you're picking up the product, and these are really dry, sometimes I have to kind of tap in, warm it up with my finger, make sure I'm getting some product off, and then I only dip into that one point. And again, I mean, even that's probably a bit too much. That's very little. If you see it going onto your skin, you usually have too much. And you're going to have to move that product around or just remove it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with this dark point first. This dark spot. Okay, remember, inside this are multiple colors. So first, and sorry, I can never do Demi well in the phone. You got to have good lighting and you've got to have a good mirror when you're learning it. And then once you've learned your own face you'll be able to do it other places, but not in the beginning. So I'm barely touching the darkest point. I don't know if you could see that area right there just disappeared. Now I'm going to the next darkest point within that spot. You can see a lot of it is already gone away. I'll be honest, most days this will be perfectly fine for me and I would leave it just like that. But let's see if we can get it a little bit more. Demi can be really magical, but I'll be honest, I feel like the greatest limitation is just how much time you're willing to spend on one point on your face. To me, I'm like, nah, like I get it to where it mostly disappears and then I'm happy. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go down to 01 now. Okay, so I always use the brush cleaning towel in between each color just to make sure I have excess off. Make sure it's not dry. So that way when I barely touch it, I know I'm getting product on my brush. Okay, see how I went in with too much there and I can see it? So that's usually when I either use my finger to pick it up or I use the end of the brush. Okay, so when you see me flip it around, usually that's because there's excess, okay? And again, if you just try to start swiping it around, all that O3 you just place, you're gonna move, and that was a precise application. Like, you don't wanna just mix it around, defeats the purpose. Pretty good, huh? Sometimes I go into then OR1, depending again. If I'm like special occasion where I'm like, I want it gone, I don't want to see it in a picture, nothing, then I will go into another color, which is why I tell you guys, spots are usually multiple colors. You usually have to have 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4. I have to be careful with the reds or it can easily look cool. So I'm kind of borderline. That spot is at least. Okay, I'm calling that spot good. And now let's hit, oh, I got some other dark spots that take me 2 seconds, which is some of these that kind of stick out from my contour line. 03 every time, okay? On me and on my face, I've learned when it's at a certain depth, I know which color. Disappeared. That one's good. I just used the excess from my brush. Wow, maybe I didn't get enough. Sometimes I look for places to use it. Okay, and I usually have one right here. Okay, then I like to just take that 03 while I have it in my spot brush and this darkest point in here. And then I slowly move down my under eye. Oh yeah, I've got a spot right there on the side of my nose. Magical. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with 01 and hit these blue tones right there and kind of this shadow right there. So a lot of times if you see a shadow, that means excess blue. If you see mulchy like leaves drying up, that's green. Okay, and then you just kind of have to try and see what depth it needs. It might be RO, or it might just need an O. It's, again, you have to kind of learn your face. Okay, so I kind of got the inside corners a little bit. You also want to move around a lot because I have I see different spots depending on how I move my head. We have a lot of contours. Okay, so I'm going to use 03 right in the deepest point. 01. Like so. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the bright brush. Sometimes it helps me keep a really light hand. I'm gonna use a little Y01. Okay, and this again gets rid of some of that dark purple around my lash line. And right here. And I know it's so hard to see. I wish I could get closer. I don't feel like you can ever see Demi true to color in camera, which is why it's very hard to teach what to look for. And then still be able to see enough to do it yourself. Okay, I don't think I need any more yellow. I can go back to O and C. There. See, I took away that darkness. And guys, I don't have easy under eyes to use Demi on. Some people's could literally just use a couple colors right there. Mine are not easy. So I don't think that everyone's are this difficult. Some people's are harder than mine. It just kind of depends on your concerns. I just have a lot of different colors going on and hyperpigmentation. Okay, that spot right there. Let's just try R01 and see what happens. actually worked good. Now I'm just gonna use it, some of the other points around it. I feel like I need some through here. A lot of times we get real mulchy looking at the corner of our eyes as we age. So try that R01 there. Okay. And then at a certain point, you just call it good. And I think I'm going to call it good because, again, I can't ever like just do a quick Demi tutorial. With Demi, you don't have to set it. Now, sometimes I do like to apply a little bit of powder if my under eyes have a glare to them, meaning you're gonna see more contours of your under eyes. So I don't have this flat surface under there. Sometimes it helps me to take away a little bit of that glow because I'm seeing mostly the glow of my skincare underneath the Demi because it doesn't cover, I mean, I don't apply it everywhere. So sometimes I like to just apply a little bit of my powder right there. You see how that helped kind of soften those lines? It's almost like pores, okay? You don't want it to reflect and show as much of the contours of your skin, or you do the same thing. A little bit of powder has a lot of blurring action. Okay, and it's not so much that it's gonna look cakey or heavy or increase the look of texture, but you don't have to set Demi. I just sometimes like to blur those lines around my eyes, if that makes sense. Okay, let's go in with a little bit of Saint 6. I'm just gonna use my finger because I don't want to dirty my pretty new black perfector illuminator yet. Okay, I'm gonna use some everywhere you can use illuminator, just for simplistic sake. Whew. Yeah, I can definitely smell this one. Not that it's strong, I can just, maybe it's just because it's new and I'm not used to this. Brows, line brush, and my Trust eyeshadow. Let's see, I'm just gonna go straight up to the arch. I know I usually skip over eyebrows because I feel like they're boring if you've seen me do them 100 times, but so many people have been asking lately. Okay, then straight parallel to the first line from the arch down to the tail. And then I fill. Now you can use a contour or an eyeshadow, and I can always give you a suggestion. I had somebody tell me the other day she saw someone using Arabian Nights cream eyeshadow. I would not recommend that. It's a shimmer. Don't put a shimmer in your brows. When we have lots of cream contours that are good ashy colors, you typically want to stay away from warm tones in your brows. They will pull more red, and unless you have red hair, just don't. Okay, when I get to the front, I kind of just do upward strokes right in the front so it's not too squared off, and then I always blend through with the spoolie, and if you have any fallout, big fluffy brush. Okay, let's do the easiest eye look ever. Lately, I've been real lazy when it comes to my eye makeup. So, eyeshadow brush. Chai is my magic eraser. I usually swirl generously into chai, and I just take it all over my entire lid. So, a wash. So, from lash line all the way up. Now, this shade does not give me a lot of depth. It's about the color of my eyelid, but it gives me a really nice base and kind of helps even out my lid. Now I can go a little bit in and get a little bit of depth. Do you see that? It looks far better than nothing on my eyes at all. But when I halo with it, I don't feel like it does a whole lot. But you can tell it definitely helps the under eyes. I feel like Demi never is complete until I do under my eyes with eyeshadow. And then I feel like I like the brightness and the softness, but it still looks like, I think because I still have so much purple under my eyes. And with any cream, I never like to apply it all the way to the lash line. Avoid the most heavily textured areas. It tends to help. Okay, so then I'm just gonna deepen it a little bit, okay? So I'm gonna go in with Bubba. So try, Bubba is just a little bit darker and warmer. And then this color I feel like I can see, and it helps kind of balance that purple. It takes it out. Okay, I'm gonna go generously into Bubba. I'm gonna look straight, I'm gonna close, and I'm gonna open, and I'm gonna make sure this color is high enough to frame my eyes. Just a touch makes the biggest difference. Okay, so apply that as little or as much as you want. Sometimes I go down the outer corner and just I slowly build. Now Bubba is a light enough color on my skin tone that I can swirl in. I can't do that with Sedona, which is right next to it. It's too dark. I barely tap in that. So getting to know your eyeshadow colors can help a lot. Knowing how much product you can pick up on the brush and not get fallout or get a harsh, too much depositing a color to where you have to blend a lot more. Bubba is one of my favorites because I can really build it up and see it. And it gives me this really natural, like just, it opens my eyes up really easily. Sedona, which I also use, I just barely tap in. So that one is a lot darker, okay? So if you want to add a little bit of depth in the outer corner, you can just barely touch that and add a little bit there. But, okay, I'm gonna clean off my eyeshadow brush. I'm gonna go in with Rome. Actually, I'm gonna just use my finger. Okay, Rome is like one of the most underrated colors. It is just the prettiest cream shimmer. When I want to know makeup, really natural eye, I just add that. And you can tell it, you probably can't even tell on camera. It doesn't really catch much light even on camera, but it is a shimmer. It is just one of them I consider a subtle shimmer, which is why it's really good for mature eyes. And I just put it on just enough so it can kind of catch the light, lighten that area of the eye so it kind of brightens, and then you can blend it out, okay? Now, it's not bright enough, in my opinion, to kind of brighten the inside corner, like you can't really see it. I already applied illuminator there, but if you do like a little bit more brightness, that's when I reach for Drift or Sabrina. I feel like my under the brow is still good. Okay, so there's a very natural eye look. If I want to step it up one notch, which I've been doing a lot lately, I grab my multitasker and I typically go into one of these colors. Trust, which is my brow color. Cocoa, which is, so let's compare. Trust is my brow color. It is a dark, cool brown. Okay, Cocoa is a dark, warm brown, or Revival, which is a dark burgundy. And I feel like on camera they look So similar. Okay, you maybe kind of see it's more of a plum. Okay, so if you have green eyes, you like to make your eyes pop, plum is one of my favorites to do that. So that was a bad swatch. You can see how cool Trust looks in comparison to those two. So just kind of depending on your preference, but I typically go into Cocoa or Revival. Let's do Revival today. I tend to grab just the very edge. You see how the multitasker has an edge to it? Just this bottom portion right here. And then I literally just barely touch and sweep along my lash line. Just to give a really soft, not a liner really even, but just enough definition to where my lashes look a little bit thicker. And it kind of makes my eyes look a little bit bigger. You see that? Not to mention it's super easy and fast. Okay, just press along your upper lash line. You can even bring it a touch in the corner if you really want. And then we finish with little lower lash mascara. These are, get ready with me with the new stuff. I talked way longer than I thought I would. Can you guys see that steam? Because it's still hot. An hour and a half later. All right, so here's the finished 3D and Demi look using the new Tiger Lily, Perfector, all the goodies. Seint number 6, which I can smell from here. Smells so good. And there you go. I hope that was helpful. I for sure know I feel like I need to do some more dedicated Demi videos to help you guys out. So let me know what questions you have so I can get them answered in the next tutorial. And if you need a color match or needing help with Demi or 3D, just fill out my color match questionnaire. It's in the drop box below the video. Hit that little arrow and it will open. You can find all of my information from every shade I use to how to get in contact with me, or if you have questions or needing help with your color match. I'd be happy to get you started with this makeup or help you troubleshoot your current colors as well. Hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the comments below. And thank you guys for watching. Love you.